I'm inspired by so many different things that I feel like they're all over the place. Like, I get really excited about cooking. I've been doing a lot of like plant-based cooking lately and Japanese cooking and fermenting. And in a way, it translates to textile design.
Think of the people you interact with every day. Would you want to spend a day in a canoe with them? Hi, I'm Nathan Mercero, CEO of Planning Alternatives. We're a disruptive brand in the financial planning space with a point of view that true wealth has nothing to do with money. Growing up in a small town in Canada, I experienced examples of families with money and without. It started me on this journey of understanding wealth and the idea that spending a day in a canoe with someone could be one of the best investments you could make. Join me as I sit down with leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives, rule breakers, and friends to discover their perspective of true wealth. And maybe you'll start to shift yours. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Elyse Allen of Elyse Allen Textiles. Welcome. I'm glad we connected here at the Western Design Conference, and your work has been commented and praised by many, and we're grateful that you're stopping by for the Day in a Canoe chat. As an artist, there's so many things that I'm sure are on your dashboard, from the things to do day to day. Maybe you can walk us through what you're focused on with your current body of work, and then we'll get into maybe your background story of how you got to where you are now.
My day to day. So I have a small cashmere knitwear studio in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've been doing what I do in one capacity or another for 25 years. I started making costumes and couture fabric, and then it slowly became sort of a wearable, high-end cashmere business. I never thought I would end up being a business owner. It wasn't something I thought I'm going to go to school and have a business and travel the world selling cashmere. And it was a really organic process. But for the last maybe 20 years, I have a small studio that used to be in Manhattan. Now it's in Santa Fe, where we hand make everything using knitting machines and embellishing with Swarovski crystals. I'll find inspiration from plants, from nature, from traveling, whatever kind of comes through the ether, through my brain, and comes out through my eyes and my fingers and gets transmuted into something else that eventually becomes a product that travels to shows where I meet my clients and my customers, and hopefully they fall in love with something that comes out of what I do that becomes a part of their world. And it's very personal, it's very organic. I'm always trying to come up with new colors and new ideas and new patterns, and I really can't force it. It has to be it has to come through inspiration, through something I love. I can't think, okay, I need to make something at this price point and it's going to sell, and it's going to sell to the New Yorkers that love black, and this I'll make for Palm Beach and this lime green. And I'll take into consideration things that people suggest or might ask if I make, or if I can make, or can I custom make something that would work with this. But it still has to be something that I love, that I'm inspired by, that motivates me.
When did you see this inspiration start to emerge? Was it at a young age, or did you have...
As a child, yeah.
How did that get expressed?
I come from a lineage of mostly women artists. My mom was an artist, my grandmother was an artist, my great aunt. So when I was a baby, I think my family could tell that I had it in my blood, and they just supplied me with my materials and let me go. And I was just encouraged to be creative and to make whatever I wanted to make. They let me paint on walls. My mom let me use her sable paintbrushes. My grandmother would give me art supplies when I would go to her house. And I think without pushing me, they just gave me the tools and let me go.
I'm sure that you have friends didn't have that experience, but maybe they're more in the corporate world, or maybe they're in this structured environment. How do you view your childhood experience, given your life journey, compared to, and it's not a judgment of good or bad, It's just what's your observation from an artist's perspective?
I feel very fortunate that I was supported in more ways than one, encouraged to do what came naturally, to do what I loved. My parents helped point me in the direction of going to a great art school and allowing me to stay there for 6.5 years till I really figured out that I loved textiles. And I was never told I couldn't do something, I couldn't make a living doing something I love to do. And I think I'm really fortunate in that way, where I find a lot of artists, even if their parents sent them to great art schools, they really wanted them to go to law school or to do something that they felt was more secure or had more financial security to it. And that was never a question coming from my family of artists and creative people and being successful in doing what they wanted to do.
So for the person who's listening that may not have had that experience, they've worked their way up the corporate ladder, but they're like, maybe there's something that I can explore around creativity. What advice or insight would you share with people that have a curiosity about art and creativity?
One thing I often suggest when people tell me, I've always loved knitting or I want to try paper making or photography, but I have to keep my day job, and how do I do that? And especially these days, there's so many creative outlets. You can take a Zoom class for 3 days with a teacher in England that's teaching some passementerie techniques of ribbon making. It's so accessible these days, where it wasn't 20 years ago. You had to go to a college and take a class or to try to even figure out, get your feet wet to know if it's something that you want to do. If you didn't have the parents that said, sure, we're going to send you to art camp when you're a child or go to art school. There are a few schools in this country, like Haystack Mountain School of Crafts in Maine, which have these incredible 2-week courses where students come from all over the world, ranging in age from 18 to 80, and they'll be able to focus on something like weaving or blacksmithing. And they feed you great food, and you're on the water, and you can really just relax and enjoy the experience. So I tell people, try something like that. If you can take 2 weeks and treat yourself and go on this little vacation, creative vacation where you're taken care of and you can really explore, and you'll be sitting next to a professional world-class artist. You might be sitting next to someone who's 18 that just finished high school, and as a gift from their family, they were given this 2-week class. And you really know if you've spent 2 weeks doing something you think you're excited about in a beautiful setting where you don't have to cook or clean or drive anybody, you don't have to walk any dogs, you don't have to answer phone calls or emails, you're just doing what you want to do. And I feel like there's so much richness that comes out of that. It's unexpected when the rest of the world just falls away. So that's one thing that I often will encourage people to do. Find a class, ideally where you can just go away to a beautiful place for a week or two.
Sign me up. I'm ready. A question that has always been percolating in the back of my mind as I get more familiar with art is, how do artists pick their medium? So you work with soft textiles, and is there like a value set that you're expressing? Are you expressing yourself through, I know the design and expression of it is you, but what insight do you have about the medium that creatives use?
Great question. But it's something I still think about because I've primarily worked with yarn for the past 25 years. When I first went to art school, I majored in sculpture because I had to choose my major my freshman year, and I wanted to do everything. And I knew if I was a sculpture major, I could do glass blowing, I could do ceramics, I'd cast bronze, I'd work in wood, I could do animation, I could try everything. And it took me a few years to realize that I really loved textiles. I was good at a couple things and not so great at some other things. I realized I really don't like power tools. I appreciate different materials, but I don't have the calling towards it. And when I first started weaving and working with yarn, I would wake up in the morning so excited to get to my loom. I would make a big coffee and I would run. I never got up early. And I was so excited to spend my whole day at the loom. And I knew I loved it. I loved touching yarn. I loved the way learning about the structures and materials. And I think you just feel it in your soul. Like you're so excited about it. And every once in a while I think maybe I should try painting again. I haven't done painting in a while, and I'll dabble a little bit and it can be fun and interesting. And then I always just get drawn back to working with raw materials and yarn and textile.
Any approaches when you're looking to kind of boost your creativity or say, hey, this is the next 3 to 6 months that I want to focus on things? Like, how do you coach yourself if maybe you're not feeling flow, or do you just simply wait to say, I need to feel flow before I go this? go in this direction?
It's the creative part of my mind, and my business is so different from the less creative, structured. I have my schedule. I'm traveling here. I know I need new designs for the show in 3 months. I feel like I'm squeezing a toothpaste tube, and I need it to be creative, and it's hard to force it sometimes. So there are techniques like meditation or drawing every day, going to museums, going for walks in nature. I feel like there are little tricks to get you flowing. But even though I know these things, it's hard for me to have that discipline of drawing every day or reading inspirational material or reading about artists that feed back directly back into my work.
Getting back to that place is always going to be a good outcome. So sometimes the clutter of life can get in the way, but we have to just work through the clutter to get back to that source. As you think about what's ahead, what inspires you now?
I'm inspired by so many different things that I feel like they're all over the place. Like, I get really excited about cooking. I've been doing a lot of like plant-based cooking lately, and Japanese cooking and fermenting. And in a way, it translates to textile design. Like, what's creative, what's clean, I can strip things away, and what are the elements that are exciting to me that kind of spark. Okay, I want to work with shiso leaves, but I don't want the flavor to be too overpowering. How can I have this element that's new and exciting for me, that makes sense to other people, that other people are going to like the flavor of, that's not too weird or too out there? Because I can definitely go that direction. And I feel like you have to sometimes go in the weird direction to figure out what doesn't work instead of staying in the safer place. And I'm speaking metaphorically about cooking and textiles and all of this different stuff that in a way translates, in my mind, from in a creative way, whatever creative life is for someone. Not doing the same thing, not getting stuck in your rut, not just, this worked the last time, so I'm going to do it again. And I think we all have that habit of going with what works instead of trying new things and failing and making something that's really ugly and being okay with it. When I used to teach textile design, I would tell my students, it's good if you're making some really ugly stuff every once in a while, some really weird stuff. That's not the stuff that everyone's going to see. You don't see that in a gallery. You don't see the failed pieces. You don't see the weird experiments, the really strange stuff that didn't work. But you might have to work that way, make the weird stuff, make the ugly stuff to get to the stuff that really sings.
So as you described just this kaleidoscope of areas that you're curious about, which is amazing, how do you navigate that? Do you just trust your intuition? And is intuition always trustworthy?
I think intuition is always trustworthy. I think the hard part is trusting our intuition.
What do you mean by that?
Being okay with the unknown. You know, if something feels right, if you're excited about something, just allowing yourself to go with that, even if you don't know what the outcome is going to be or if there's going to be an outcome at all. Like these days, I get really excited going to my garden first thing in the morning and seeing what's changed and what's grown. I check on the cucumbers and I look for zucchini that's hiding and my wildflowers, like different colors are coming out, and I check the plants and everything looking good. And I find it incredibly inspiring. And I have a little basket now, and I'll go and I'll pick my tomatoes and I just check on things. And even though I'm looking at the same plants every day, it's so inspiring to me that, like, how did this happen from this one little seed that I started in the winter? These huge plants that are giving me food and beautiful colors. And for me, that's inspiring right now. And then the sadness knowing it's going to change because it's getting cold soon and I'll have to wait till next year to have that experience again. And I'll also have the free time, because I won't be spending so much time gardening, to do something else. And maybe then I'll get back to my desk and I'll be doing more writing. I'll be inside more, or maybe I'll be hiking and watching the colors change. And I might find inspiration in the colors for the next year's palette of colors based on what's really making my heart sing. So in a way, that's the intuition, just trusting what I'm excited about. And I just have to trust that if I'm excited about it, some people out there will also find it exciting and hopefully not too weird or too ugly, that I can make things that people will want to wear or to take home and have part of their lives.
I love the expression, what makes my heart sing. I think that's a great compass, a great lighthouse that we can look for to find direction. In our world of financial planning, we help people figure out what true wealth means to them. And many times with people focusing on I need more and more money, and money certainly does make the world go round. It's a critical currency. But we also are helping people identify what true wealth means to them, and it's well beyond money. Sounds like you have a wealthy life. Is that a fair
I do.
statement?
Yeah.
And how'd you get that?
I think I had great support from my family, just trusting my creativity and encouraging me to do what I loved. My father is a financial advisor, and he was one of my big supporters when I was first starting my business, and I would bounce ideas off of him, and he would travel with me to my shows. Without that encouragement, I don't think I would have had a business. I don't think I would have had any idea what I was doing. And also just the security in knowing that it was possible. And I don't mean financially. Of course, if I needed cash flow, he would say, "How are you doing on cash?" And I was like, "I'm okay, Dad, but thank you for asking." And just knowing that he believed in me and that I should put my time and my energy and my money into making what I love to do and creating this business, building the business, because it really was building. I didn't start off with all of the cashmere that I have now in my studio. It was little balls of yarn that I would experiment with these precious materials, and I would take them to a show or show them to my customers and get the feedback. And if I sold some, I might buy some more cashmere and try making something bigger and then see how that went. And taking these risks and taking these chances and, of course, investing financially into products I was making. That took a while to build that and to build the confidence, knowing that if I buy $10,000 worth of yarn, that I will be able to get that back. That it's not just going to be a waste and I'm going to make a huge pile of ugly stuff that no one's ever going to want to go near. So I think just having the support to have the confidence in what I was doing and the trust. He would be in his office to put a suit on, and he let me, I remember, so I did almost a full degree as a sculpture major at RISD, and I did a year in Italy and came back and I was like, I want to be a textile designer. And I realized, oh crap, I have to start all over. I couldn't take one class without being a major. And I was 20 by the time I realized, and I'd gone through a few years of very structured art school, calling my dad. And I was like, I think I want to change my major and start over in textiles.
Beauty of the journey. It's wow. Yeah, yay to Dad. Shout out to financial advisor Dad.
My father paid for my education, and he supported me and paid for it and let me spend another 2.5 years in college. And I'm really relieved that I'm still doing what I studied. I think at least I wasn't like a crapshoot.
Right.
My brother had a great education and he became a builder. He was an English major and traveled and communications, made films, and then he realized he liked working with his hands and building houses. And he has a different perspective on having a great education and having that support. He felt like it was a bit of a waste. And I think, oh my God, I loved going to school. I could have been in school for 30 years and I would, okay, I'm going to do animation this year. So yeah, I think.
You have a fantastic story. I want to thank you for stopping by to share and want to wish you all the best and good luck in the conference.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review. To discover what wealth means to you, please take our assessment at planningalt.com.